Welcome back to On Texas Basketball. I'm Jeff Howe, joined by Gerry Hamilton, and a very, very special guest joining us today. Let's not waste any time, get right into it. He is the head coach of the Texas Longhorns, getting ready for his first season leading the program. Sean Miller joining us on Texas Basketball. Coach Miller, we've been looking forward to this for a while. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk to us today.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm glad to be on with you guys.
Hey, Coach, I'll just get right into it. Practice began last week. Y'all are a few days in. For the fans that aren't as familiar, where are you at kind of overview with this team, first of all, and like from an install standpoint, where are you at as far as this team goes and where you want them to be as far as an installation of your system process?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think one of the things that we try to take advantage of is, the summer and the fall, right? We have more access to our players just inherently by the NCAA rules than maybe we would have 5 summers ago. And that's to our advantage. What's to our disadvantage is just time isn't on our side when you're a new staff and you have as many new players as we do. So, it's a combination of not going too fast and being so carried away in getting to everything, installing everything, right? Being comprehensive. And what's lost in that sometimes is that you're not good at anything. So I think there's some give and take. We have to get to the starting point, and that is we play with pace on offense. That has to be understood by our team. And then in the half court, playing through concepts with movement. That's been a big part of our investment. Defensively, it's about, starting to build the foundation of a man-to-man defensive system. Can we get to set plays and we take the ball underneath our own basket? Do we want to score? Yes. Do we want to be ready for a zone? All those things. But I think I'm erring on the side, as I always have, of when we introduce something, let's try to get good at it. Let's make sure that the details of what we're implementing are covered. And to me, that's the best way of becoming really good down the road. That may not be at to our advantage here in the next couple of weeks, but that's how we're going about it. So to answer your question, it's that give and take of not going too fast. And when we implement anything, we're just trying to get the details right.
Coach, there are analytics and ways people can measure pace of play or tempo. Mm-hmm. For you internally, what does it look like when your team is playing with good tempo?
Yeah, it does not mean that we have to shoot quick. And that's the misconception in a lot of ways. I just think that playing with fast, you want to get fast into your offense. And I think, running into it, fast execution, that's the most difficult type of offense, in my opinion, to guard. And so that doesn't mean that we want to shoot in the first 6 seconds. It just means that if you give us an early opportunity, we'll be more than happy to take it. And we're just trying to give our team the most early opportunities we can. There'll be plenty of times that my hope is that you see us really changing sides with the basketball, being patient, hunting those good shots. And that good shot may come in the last 10 seconds of the shot clock. That doesn't mean we're signing up to play slow. It's just the defense didn't give us those early good opportunities. And when that happens, we have to be able to adjust.
Hey, Coach, Jeff brought up something that I don't think anybody's asked you. I'm interested to hear. One of the big questions I have for coaches nowadays, because sports are so analytics driven. How do you balance coaching instincts feel with analytics from your coach? Because I think that's maybe the toughest thing to do in coaching nowadays, because analytics is used so much in sports.
Yeah, so I think that we believe in our system, do what we do. We have a way, we have a philosophy. It's been proven over time. We feel like we have a good way of building our team, to your earlier question. But as you start getting further down the road into games, analytics validates or doesn't validate what you're doing. One thing that I've learned through analytics is it's not necessarily what you're doing on the basketball court, but who you're doing it with. So in basketball, like personnel groups are super important. And you would be surprised sometimes you coach these guys every day and you're really just trying to be fundamentally sound and detailed in what we're doing on our end of the court, but you fail to recognize that when this one player's in with this second player, it's like magic. We're much, much better. Or we're way better on offense, but what you better make sure you understand is we're way worse on defense. So it evens out. So I think the analytics can drive you in a lot of ways. One of the things that's really helped me as a coach is being more aware now, more than ever before, of what lineups work best when a certain player group is in. What are we better at? Offense, defense? Is there a drop off? Because then once you determine that, then you really go, it's like a roof leaking. You go right to trying to fix it. So if this group is really much, much better on offense when they're in, but yet defensively there's slippage, can we fix the slippage and still keep them where they're at offensively? So in substitutions in basketball are different because everybody in the game plays both offense and defense. So that's something that we've learned to rely more on analytics in recent years.
Coach, I'm crossing my fingers and knocking on wood when I say this, but the health of your team been good, relatively speaking. Obviously, you had Lucina had the knee injury last year with you. At Xavier, Tremont needed the labrum surgery. How much has it helped the process getting into practice and getting everything installed of just having overall good team health to start out?
I mean, I think in any sport, it is the thing that you don't want to talk about as a coach because, we're all at the mercy of injuries. And, health is big in any sport, in particular basketball. You have 5 starters, you're playing with 5 players. Losing just one of those guys, it's amazing how it just changes the dynamics of everything. And unfortunately, we've gone through it the last couple of years. When I was at Xavier, we've had some real key season-ending injuries. You mentioned Lucina a year ago. We lost Zach Fremantle, who you guys know well. I mean, we lost him, didn't practice one time, just lost him from start to finish. So, you do the best you can, next man up. That's why you have a team and all those things. But health and well-being is certainly a part of this. We all need some good fortune on our journey. And to answer your question, Tremont had labrum surgery, missed the summer, but only missed it because he was rehabbing and he was getting stronger. And I think that he's healthy right now. We're hoping he can have one of those great start to finish years health-wise. And Lucina Traore, he's a year since his injury, and he's been cleared, and it's nice to see him back out there. So, we're hoping for a good stretch of health. Kendall Weaver, a year ago, I watched Texas because we played Texas as the competitor, and they were 2 different teams, with Kendall and without Kendall. And just watching him fly around the court, keeping him healthy is one of the things that I think is key to this year for sure. And look, that's why a strength and conditioning program, an excellent trainer, an excellent strength coach is so important to a college basketball program. We invest in that area, and just because you have both of those areas covered doesn't mean you have these injuries. But I do think it protects players and gives them the best chance to be healthy.
Hey, you kind of led me into my next question, mentioning Kendall Weaver. So for the Texas fans that don't know, I saw Kendall Weaver play in high school. He had 0 offers, 0. He left high school with 1, UT Arlington, then transferred to Texas. So there's personal character, and then there's basketball character. When you evaluate guys, what's basketball character? What are you really looking for, whether it be a portal player or high school player, outside the skill set, which everybody knows guys have to have a certain level of?
Yeah, there's 2 things that jump out with that question. One is just competitive character, right?
Yeah.
Do you impact winning doing many things? Kendall certainly is the epitome of having great competitive character. And then the second part of it is you have to know who you are, self-awareness, right? As self-awareness as a player in a sport, on a team. Who are you? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What is it that allows you to impact winning? And I find that Kendall is very bright, very competitive, gives tremendous effort on both sides of the basketball. And he's the epitome of of somebody who knows who he is and competes in everything that he does. And with that, that makes him a great teammate. And I also think that, you can't judge Kendall, his impact on just the statistics alone. He makes so many plays throughout the game in so many areas that, he's a terrific player, and we're thrilled to have him.
Coach, we'll pick it back up here in just a second. Got to take a quick break to thank our sponsor for this edition of On Texas Basketball. That's Hayes City Store. Get out to Driftwood. Great job out there by Travis and the crew. It's a great spot. Scratch-made Texas comfort food is what they're all about. They've got live music 6 nights a week, family-friendly restaurant. The 11 TVs in their ice house. It's perfect setup for game day, whether you're talking about Saturday or Sunday. Make sure you get out there again. Bring your whole crew. Get over to HayesCityStoreTX.com is the website. Again, HayesCityStoreTX.com. Hayes City Store, it's uniquely Texas. And thank Travis and the crew for their sponsorship of this edition of On Texas Basketball. Coach.
Hey, Coach, so SEC, moving to the SEC, obviously. You've coached a number of different conferences, right? High major conferences. How does the SEC, how is it different? How does it compare? Obviously, I know leagues change over time, but how is the SEC different maybe? And how do you kind of perceive the SEC after evaluating Texas, getting ready for that NCAA tournament game last year and watching teams in the SEC?
Well, it's a great question. Me being very honest on my end, I'm not going to know truly how great the SEC is until you coach and go through it. I learned that in the Big East. You think but not until you're, through these tough months of February and March do you recognize and truly understand everything about the conference. But I would just say, looking at our conference, I think it's the best in the country, hands down. A year ago, in fact, there was 14 teams in the NCAA tournament. The national champion, the Florida Gators, 2 in the Final Four, Auburn and Florida. I think we had 7 in the Sweet 16. Remarkable, historic. I don't know if there's ever been a stronger conference than the SEC was comprised. What made the SEC a year ago, I don't know if it's ever been done before. So on the heels of that, will we be as good this year? To some degree, you hope not, right? But I think we'll be super strong. I think that the collection of talent, the returning experience, winning coaches, winning programs, it's going to be a battle every night in this league. And I'm thrilled to be a part of it. It's an honor to coach in the SEC. Anytime you say something is the best, that you have to be at your best to have any chance.
So there's a topic that's always brought up in basketball conversations. And if you don't want to answer, just shoot me down on this. Is the league are different leagues officiated different ways? And how do you have to prepare for that as a coach?
I think so. The Big East Conference is officiated in a more physical way than the Pac-12. That doesn't mean that one or the other is right or wrong. It's just the physicality, in and around the basket, letting guys play through contact. That was more prevalent in the Big East Conference. I knew that even back in the day when I played. The Big East was always, regarded as a physical, rugged league, and that happens because the officials really allow that to take place. From what I understand about the SEC, I think it's similar to that. However, I think, we may have more athleticism and quickness in the SEC top to bottom than maybe we had in the Big East. More teams, 16 teams versus 11. And I say the athleticism, I'll back that up. The SEC had more block shots and steals than any league in the country a year ago. So it's not my opinion. I think that's the facts. So when you block more shots, have more steals, and then I think it's allowed to, players are allowed to play through contact and have that physicality, it makes for a fierce competitive spirit. And when I watch the SEC from my vantage point, that's what I see.
Coach, in that vein, going back to the topic of playing in a tough conference like the SEC, the view of the conference, strength of the conference, top to bottom, on top of roster fluidity in college basketball, how's that changed your view, if at all, on non-conference scheduling? This year, obviously, you open with Duke, you've got the Maui, but how do you balance out, wanting to get a team ready while at the same time making sure your guys still have legs to go through a really tough conference schedule and get into March?
Well, it's a great question. I think balance is the word that I would use to describe non-conference scheduling. Confidence is a big part of sports. You develop confidence through performance, through success, oftentimes the final score, and that cannot be understated. And I also think that being able to really competitively challenge your team, it brings out a toughness, hardens them. They know what to expect, and in some degree, it's a great test and preparation for what's to come as a part of this great conference we're in. So I think it's balance. We're playing in Maui this year, where we play 3 games in 3 days. I don't like playing 3 games in 3 days. I think those days have ended for the most part. However, we're signed up for Maui, and we're going to go there and fight the good fight. And learn through the toughness and I think the travel and being able to go through that. There'll be some real value in that. But why do I say that? Because I think the SEC and the SEC tournament, what's to come, I don't know if you need to play 3 games in 3 days anymore. There's a lot of coaches that would agree with me on that. I also think that playing true road games in non-conference is healthy. It's not easy, but one of the things you want to be ready for is that first road game, or being able to go on the road in the SEC and be the most comfortable you can be. You can't be that without having gone through it a couple of times in the non-conference setting. So at UConn, for example, playing Duke and Charlotte are 2 great examples, which I think will prepare us for life on the road in the SEC.
Hey, Coach, last thing I have before we get into some individual players, I kind of want you to introduce some of these players, the new players to the Texas fan bases. You're one, I don't know if pioneers is the right word, but you were one of the first guys I remember that did great work recruiting international players. You've had a number of NBA guys come over at your time at Arizona and go on to the NBA. How's international recruiting changed, and how do you now balance that with portal, high school, portal, and international? Because that's really different. Like college football is just high school and portal. You guys in basketball have all 3 that you have to balance in your roster build.
Yeah, and one of the things that is unique about international recruiting is the final decisions come at unique times. Sometimes it comes in the summer prior to the school year beginning. Most of the time, it happens in the spring. So we could be recruiting a young player who's an incoming freshman, but he doesn't end up making his decision to come to Texas until May. Whereas most high school players make their decision at some point in the fall, right? So that's unique to it. Look, basketball is a global game, around the world, more today than ever before. All you have to do is look at the NBA MVPs and some of the best players in that league. Where do they come from? All over the world. Well, college basketball is the same. There's more familiarity with college sports. With NIL, a lot of young people who in the past didn't want to come and be a part of the NCAA now look at it as a different option because there's money as of part of their decision as well. So I think more schools participate in international recruiting than ever before. But at the end of the day, you still have to get the right ones. And I think that's the whole key. When you talk about me at Arizona, Lauri Markkanen is from Finland. He was not only a home run, he was a grand slam, right?
Yeah, grand slam.
DeAndre Ayton's from the Bahamas. And then, Benedict Mathurin is from Montreal, Canada. Those are 3 lottery picks right there. So we had our range of success at Arizona, and we're well aware that the University of Texas is a destination spot for people from all around the world, and we want to take advantage of that. So international recruiting is part of how we will build our program.
Well, the Texas fan base is pretty familiar with Tremont Mark, Jordan Pope, Kendall Weaver. They've seen them play quite a bit last year. So if you want to comment on those guys, what you've seen. But let's go to Nick Cody before we get into the guys you brought in. Nick Cody was a guy the Texas fan base didn't get to see much of last year. But where's kind of Nick's improvement been at? Because I've heard he's made some really good strides under you guys who are known for player development.
Nick has really, in my mind, been one of the pleasant surprises of our time here. He had a really good summer. Oftentimes the freshman year, you learn a lot, you grow a lot, and it's done behind the scenes. Nick didn't get a lot of opportunity, but I think he learned a lot in his first year here. Believing in us, staying here, returning for his sophomore year. He knows Texas. He's been through the SEC. I think there's some good familiarity there that allowed him to have a great summer in the weight room, getting bigger and stronger, which I think is at the top of the list for him. The bigger and stronger he gets, the better player he'll become because he has a lot of talent. One thing that jumps off the page for me in describing Nick Cody is he's incredibly smart on the basketball court. He's almost like a point guard in that he knows what to do and how to do it. You don't have to tell him twice. As a matter of fact, he can actually be helpful in teaching and helping his teammates know what to do. Very, very bright on the court and has some great athletic talent at 6'9". His whole foundation has to be, you have to become bigger, stronger, heavier, more explosive. And he's taken a good step in that right direction. And I believe that this year he can be a key contributor to our team. His growth and maturity, not only on the court and off the court, it's still, an everyday work in progress. He gets better weekly, but I have no doubt he has the ability to help us.
Coach, got a two-part question on Dalen Swain. What's it been like just to kind of get that old school approach with Dalen where you recruit a guy out of high school, you get to develop him, you watch him evolve. And, we met with him last week. He said he really wanted to work on being a better leader getting to Texas. Let's just talk about his evolution as a player. And then have you seen him take on that leadership role that he wants to have this year?
You can tell he's embracing that. Like all of us, I think he continues to learn on what that means to be a leader. I think the number one thing you do as a leader is you yourself are the same virtually every day, regardless of circumstances. Those are the people that others follow, right? Where there's a standard and a way and a consistency of how you handle your business every day. And as a player, it's the work ethic. It's just being alert. It's being enthusiastic. It's regardless of how things are going for you personally, you show up in a very consistent manner. And I think that those are the players that people follow. And look, I learned this a long time ago, as far back as when I played. Inherently, your best players are your leaders, whether we want to admit that or not. Right. Because they're out there the most, they get the most notoriety. They're responsible for the outcome in a big, big way. So people follow them. And I think Dalen has all of the characteristics and attribute to be one, not just the leader, but one of our team's leaders this year. And look, his familiarity with me, with our staff, following us from Xavier to Texas, I think inherently, that makes him, again, one of those guys that it just makes sense for him to be the voice of our team in so many ways.
I got a quick follow-up on that. How tall was he when you recruited him? How much has he grown? Because I think he's grown a little bit, right?
Yeah, I'd say minimum an inch. Maybe came to school at Xavier at 6'7", but you have to realize Dalen turned 18 in July going into his freshman year. So he was a true 17-year-old high school senior, a true 18-year-old college freshman, got a great opportunity on the court, 19-year-old sophomore, and, he'll be a 20-year-old junior. So he's still very young. The other part of Dalen, he weighed probably about 180, less than 180. So he came to us at 6'7", 178. And today he's 6'8", right at 220.
Wow.
So he's made a huge transformation. I tip my hat to him really working in the weight room in the last couple of years, him embracing our strength and conditioning program with Coach Kettler. That's been a big part of Dalen's success on the court.
A guy like Simeon Wilcher, who transfers in from St. John's to you guys, I don't think anybody that saw him play in high school thought he was a 28.7% three-point shooter, right? So
Yeah.
when you get a guy that's maybe struggled shooting the basketball, what is your message to that guy when you get him? How do you think you can help him take that next step? Because obviously he's a better than 29% three-point shooter.
Yeah, I would be surprised if he didn't shoot the ball significantly better. I think that at St. John's they asked him to do so many things full court, pick up full court press, playing with amazing energy and effort. And look, we want that same energy and effort, but we're doing it in a different way. My hope is that Sim can settle in and shoot the percentage he's capable of. He's had a great summer of working on it. And, it's now a matter of taking good ones, having confidence in himself, knowing that we have great confidence in him. But I agree with you when I watched him shoot. And look, he could have come back to St. John's and made that same jump.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a matter of one year becoming the next year, growing inside of a program. So I think he's on the right track. He's got a beautiful looking shot. When we track him shooting free throws and in our drills, he's one of our team's more consistent shooters. And we're really hoping to really add that to what he has done and what he has shown.
Coach, talking to Kendall and Jordan last week, they're really excited about Matas. Seems like every guy we talked to on this roster is really excited about Matas and what he can do. Not just what he can do for you this year, Coach, but what do you see for his basketball future?
Yeah, he is a very good young player. And, as you guys know, he's the freshman of the year at Florida Atlantic a year ago and new to the country coming from Lithuania. So he's had a very good summer, along the lines of some of the guys that we've already talked about. He's invested quite a bit. I think the one thing that really stands out for me on Matas is, Matas's body fat is right around 6% at 250. You're 7 foot 250 young player and you have that low body fat. I think that shows you the discipline, the talent, maybe the upside that he has just physically. He can run. He's a guy that can really get up and down and is in great condition for a young big guy. So he loves the game as well. He puts a lot of work in. I think that you're going to watch a young player grow before your eyes. Where he'll start this year will not be where he ends.
Hey, Coach, and then Lucina, obviously coming off the knee, and I'll add John Clark into that. Then we'll ask to end this. We'll ask about the two international youngsters you have, but Lucina and John Clark. Obviously, John Clark, the freshman who'd already signed, but Lucina coming off the knee. Where are those guys at? What have you liked that you've seen from John Clark so far?
John Clark is quintessential throwback young player. In that, if this were 15 or 10 years ago, we would say that the best is yet to come in a big, big way for John. I believe in him. He's a wonderful young man, very hard worker, does what he's supposed to do, listens, learn, as coachable of a young player as I've had in my time. And with that means they have tremendous upside. How ready he'll be in year one, that remains to be seen, because one of the things, unfortunately, that John dealt with is he missed a huge part of his senior year of high school because of an injury. So when you miss your senior year of high school, almost the entire year, and then now you come to Texas as a freshman, that's not to your advantage. However, John's worked. I think maybe our most improved player from early June until now. I love watching him in practice, because even in our practice, his mistakes are just freshman mistakes. There's no lack of effort or lack of concentration. It's just not knowing things. And just every day that he's out there, he gets a little bit better. And so I think the sky is the limit inside of our program. And there'll come a day when I believe John will be a real fixture here at Texas. This year, it's going to be about patience, learning, growing, just trying to carve out a niche on this year's team. But it's about development. And we're going to really pour into him to make sure that that we can get the most out of him in this year in terms of development. Lucina Traore would be just the opposite. He's 23 years old, would not be here if he didn't suffer a season-ending injury at Xavier a year ago. The reason that we fell in love with him at Xavier and recruited him to the Big East Conference is he was one of those rare double-double players. So he averaged more than 10 points and more than 10 rebounds a game at Long Beach State for 2 years, not one. And there just aren't a lot of those guys out there. He loves to rebound the ball. He can do it on offense and defense. He has a quickness and a competitive spirit, a relentlessness to him that we loved. And, now it's about regaining his confidence, his touch, his timing, in that he's missed a lot of time. He's rehabbed. He's 100% healthy. Now it's a matter of playing 5-on-5 with officials and going back through that, getting his timing back. And I think that every couple weeks we see him getting that back. But this is his final year. Part of what you want is experience, older guys that have been through the battles. And Lucina really gives our team that.
And last thing I have for you, Coach, is the two international newcomers. International recruiting is really new to Texas fans, and they're really excited about it because Texas fans believe they have a worldwide brand. You talked about that earlier. We've never used that in basketball here.
Mm-hmm.
So Declan and Lewis, obviously, a little bit about those guys for the fans that may not or just learning about them.
So I said a lot about John Clark. I would echo my same sentiment about Lewis. And we have an agreement with Lewis. Lewis will redshirt this year. So when I say development, it's true development. He has only been playing basketball for 4 years, but I'd say Lewis is every bit 7'1". He's a little bit taller than Modest, has incredibly long arms, big wingspan on top of it. And it's up to our coaching staff and the University of Texas, our strength and conditioning area, to just look at this guy who's 7'1" and allow him to become a great player, to make him a player. He wants to do it. So it's about utilizing all of our resources. And at the same time, it's also, and we've already seen this, it's such a benefit for your roster and your team this year to have somebody that size on the court every day. In terms of Declan Duru, Declan has a real chance of contributing. Declan was on Germany's team in the under-19 tournament this summer where he won the silver medal. He was a fixture on that team, a starter. Declan is 6'8". He's a big wing who's learning how to dribble and pass and become more skilled in that area. But his ability to offensive rebound and run in transition, defend, and have that great size on the perimeter, he really gives us that. So the two freshmen we have are John Clark and Declan Duru, and we really believe in both guys. I think their future is very bright here.
And we're going to end with this, Coach. You and your staff, y'all will be happy with the season if. What's the answer to that? What would make you guys happy? It's obviously it's more than wins and losses. What would make you guys happy as a staff this year?
Well, time is not on our side.
Right.
So when you're a new staff in 2025 and you have so much change, even those that that played here at Texas a year ago didn't play for us. So, it's hard to judge us in the month of November and December. That's not an excuse as much as that's just the reality of our situation. So what I hope is that we can just continually move forward and get better. I think if our team can reach its ceiling, we're going to be a very good team, a dangerous team, and a team that I believe will hit our peak in February and March. I believe that. Now, there's a lot to that to get from where we are today to be that team. Because you're going to go through the ups and downs of a tough schedule and early non-conference challenges. The SEC brings its set of challenges, but I think that when you watch us, we could be that group that a lot of people love to watch because I think that our sum, our total, can be greater than just our individual parts. We have experience. We have a lot of qualities. I think we have good depth. It's just a matter of us continuing to honor that process and stay with it through the grueling weeks and months of a long college basketball season. And I would also say to you guys before I get off, we didn't talk about Cam Heide.
Oh, we
And,
didn't. You're right.
and Cam is, a transfer from Purdue. He played at Purdue for 3 years and played in the national championship game 2 years ago against UConn. Cam may have had his best moments last season in this year's NCAA tournament for Purdue. So he comes with a great, really, I think, a great arsenal of experience, winning, playing deep in the tournament, having a role for a very good coach and a very good program and team. And I think when you look at his ability to shoot, offensive rebound, and maybe grow from where he was, that's that depth that I'm talking about, where we can come at you, I think, on a given night with a lot of different players. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if we don't have leading scorers. A lot of times that could come from a guy who doesn't start the game. So calling on our real depth and experience is something that I hope we can cultivate.
The behind-the-scenes work going on now, right over Coach's shoulder, actually, on the practice court over at the facility. But the journey starts on November 4th against Duke. Coach, thank you so much for the time. Best of luck to you and everybody in the organization this year, and I think we're all looking forward to year one of your regime at Texas.
Thank you. It's been nice talking with you guys, and I appreciate all the great questions you asked.
All right, for Jerry, for Coach Miller, I'm Jeff Howe. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, hook 'em.